Good morning. We are going to continue this week looking at Romans 6. And so we're going to pick up in Romans 6, verse 10. For the death he died to sin once for all. But the life he lives to God. I want to focus on the phrase once for all. It's clear that we've seen that Jesus' death puts to death sin, and his life is this thing that in resurrection life typifies us living to God. But this death he died, it says he died once for all. This is very important because the backdrop to the New Testament and to Christianity is Judaism. And Judaism had many sacrifices, and the author of Hebrews in particular picks up on this and talks about the fact that there were many sacrifices, but Jesus was greater in part because Jesus didn't sacrifice himself many times to take away sins, that his blood was more potent than the blood of bulls and goats, that he, as a perfect sacrifice, gave himself once for all. The singularity of the sacrifice of Christ is an important part in the argument to be made for the superiority of Jesus' sacrifice that trumps those sacrifices of the law, that goes out beyond them, that fulfills them, we could say. And so when we read here in verse 10, for the death he died once for all, but the life he lives to God. Life he lives to God. It makes me think of Hebrews 10:10, which reads, and by that will we have been sanctified, set apart, through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ, once for all. Once for all. Next verse says, verse 11 of Hebrews 10, and every priest stands daily at his service, offering repeatedly the same sacrifices which can never take away sins. Verse 12, but when Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God. Verse 13, waiting for that time until his enemies should be made a footstool for his feet. He obtained victory for you and for me if we'll believe and trust in him by his sacrifice once for all. He obtained victory in that way for himself, as it says he is victory over all his enemies, that they are a footstool now for his feet, which alludes back to Psalm 110. It's this victory of Christ in our redemption that is a once-for-all sacrifice that's highlighted by Paul in Romans 6 to show the greatness of the fact that Jesus, who gave himself for us, invites us to have our sin totally done away with and totally dealt with by his one sacrifice. Because of that, we get to have life. We get to go back to that baptism metaphor, buried with Christ in the likeness of his death, raised to walk in newness of life. But the life he lives to God. He lives to God. Christ, his life is now in that way available to us, this resurrection life that we can have because of his once-for-all death. May the Lord bless you today as you celebrate the once-for-all, singular sacrifice of Christ.